evening, everyone. Today is March 29th. We're meeting at the high school boardroom. It is 6:04 p.m., and I'm going to ask Ms. Lampier to do the roll call.
Ms. Johnson?
Present.
Ms. Darling is not here yet. Ms. Raymond?
Here.
Mr. Claffey is not available. Ms. Brown is not here. Ms. Oden?
Here.
I am here. And Ms. Bishop?
Here.
Okay. And Ms. Giglio is still not feeling well, so we hope that she can be with us at our next meeting. We miss her.
Thank you. Tonight is round 2 of the budget hearing, and the first thing on the agenda is our curriculum. So,
great, thank you so much. So Matt Poska and I are pleased to present to you the Nashua School District curriculum presentation for FY24.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to put this together over the year and work with Dr. Sarafty and under the guidance, and with her guidance and leadership, along with the leadership and direction that Dr. Andre has provided for us for this process. Quick snapshot of the district, roughly around 10,000 students, just over 1,000 teachers, our instructional coaches, 60 administrators, our paraprofessionals, and our budget support, the curriculum budget supports all of this work, along with the curriculum work that we have for our varied content areas. I think this instruction we're looking for, and you'll hear this often and throughout the presentation, is we want equitable access for all of our students, as well as research-based best practices, and that also ties in with our professional development. We want professional development that is valuable to our staff, so they can take these practices and implement them in their classrooms on a regular basis, and that's all our staff, our teachers, our paras, and our administrators. So very happy to put this together and provide you a quick oversight of the district as we get into our presentation.
Thank you. So first, I want to present to you the budget rationale. I wanted to let you know that the instructional coaches and I, for the elementary level, we have gotten together and we have outlined for each major content area, math, ELA, and science, we have outlined 3 charges for next year for each content area. We've also outlined the resources that help us that help to support us in meeting our goals. We've also outlined the PD opportunities associated with the charges. And then, of course, the assessment data that we're going to be using to track student performance. So in mathematics, we are really focused on the importance of access and exposure over mastery. We also want to provide students opportunities to think critically about mathematics and not just memorize facts. And we also want to be thinking about pathways rather than rote memorization. I'm not going to read through the charges for all of our content areas, but just know that they are certainly very thoughtful, and they are also a continuation of the work that we have been doing for the last 2 years. Additionally, as Mr. Poska stated, we are committed to providing equitable access to evidence-based practices and aligned resources that improve student achievement in ELA, math, science, and social studies. In ELA, we are focused on a mastery of foundational literacy skills that provide students with the critical skills to be able to decode text. But we also know from the simple view of reading that in addition to decoding text, we have to make sure that we expand students' vocabulary and background knowledge to improve reading comprehension across all of the content areas. In mathematics, we want to continue to shift to conceptual understanding. Conceptual understanding in mathematics creates a robust framework representing the numerous and interwoven relationships between mathematical ideas, patterns, and procedures. And then, as Mrs. Tino and Mrs. St. Lawrence have said many times, we are also focused on shifting from science enrichment to science instruction because we want to cultivate young scientists and engineers. We have a number of students that participate in our early education programs. I'd just like to take a minute to just really laud Alexis Leclerc. She has been working side by side with all of our instructional coaches and me to ensure that the early childhood teachers have the resources that they need to prepare students for K and beyond. So part of that includes the implementation of NGSS aligned science curricula. Also, we are fully implementing resources to support foundational literacy skills at the preschool level. We have utilized and refined our kindergarten screening tool, and we utilize the results for structured classes, instruction, intervention, and enrichment. We also are using Acadience, and that is a universal screener and progress monitoring school. Of course, we want to continue Power Scholars, and that includes a relationship between the Nashua School District 21st Century and also the YMCA partnerships. And then additionally, we want to expand our Kindergarten Institute to include grades pre-K through 5. Historically, it's been grade K. Last week, we expanded it to K and 1, and this year, we're going to expand it to pre-K 5. And again, I just want to laud Alexis Leclerc for partnering with us in that work. When it comes to our curricular resources in English language arts, as everybody knows, I'm committed to making sure that we are able to adopt and fully implement a knowledge-based curriculum. However, before we do that, we have to continue to get really proficient at the work that we've already started. So that includes the full implementation of Foundations, which is our explicit systematic phonics program. Also Haggerty, which is our program that helps us to introduce and help students become proficient when it comes to phonemic awareness. We also have some Nashua School District created units at the preschool level, and then additionally, we are incorporating Boston Public Schools model units to make our NSD created units even more robust. This year, we have also introduced decodable readers into our classroom, and we'd like to continue to be able to utilize decodable readers to help students practice the foundational skills that they learn. And one of the things that David and Meredith Lieben, the reading researchers who came to present to our district on the February 20th PD Day, one of the things that they suggested to us is that we pull from the Achieve the Core Read Aloud units so that we can continue to build background knowledge and vocabulary, and then we do that through read aloud texts that are typically 2 to 4 grade levels above what students are able to read independently. In addition to that, we have many schools who have engaged in book studies with the text The Writing Revolution, which is a book that has that is written by Judith Hochman, and essentially there are 6 key principles that teachers are able to employ to help students get to the sentence level and be able to become proficient writers. We are also integrating Lexia, which is a Tier 2 reading intervention into our schools. I know that Nadine DeRozier from Birch Hill Elementary talked about the incorporation of spellography and also just words to help students who are struggling with reading. And of course, we are working with our ELA steering committee to continue to evaluate our core ELA program so that we can move to more structured literacy instruction. And in mathematics, we currently use Eureka Math. We've been piloting Eureka Math Squared in grades 2 and 4 for the last couple of years, and next year I'm proud to announce that we have full implementation of Eureka Math. It's not necessarily something new, it's just a better updated version with embedded supports for English language learners and then also for our students who have unfinished learning. And additionally, I know that I talked earlier about the focus on conceptual understanding in math. We are using our math-empowered kits and also our Didax manipulative kits to help us with that goal. And then in science, we will continue to implement Amplify Science. Right now, we have full implementations in grades 3 through 5, and next year we will be focusing on K-2 with the caveat that teachers have the option of full implementation for 1 year, partial implementation, but the expectation is that the following year, all teachers K-5 fully implement Amplified Science. And then we have some supporting resources and technology like Flocabulary that we're using K-8. Again, I said Lexia, and then also Zern. Jonathan Foster has pulled some really powerful data that highlights that the more Zern lessons that students complete, the more likely they are to demonstrate proficiency on the New Hampshire SAS assessment. Okay, so I'm going to go really quickly because I'm running out of time here. I have my timer on. When it comes to instruction and assessment, we want to continue to provide a high-quality instruction for all students along with a tiered system of support. So one of the things that we're really working on with the assistance of the consultant from the Department of Justice and then also with our leadership team here and with our instructional coaches is to focus on Tier 1 instruction. We know that if our Tier 1 is not strong, we cannot intervene our way out of a Tier 1 problem, and so we will continue to focus on, again, scientifically based practices. Additionally, we want to continue to refine our data collection systems through our PLC time, and we want to provide ongoing student assessment, and I talked earlier about universal screening and progress monitoring so that we can provide information about students' progress towards grade level proficiency. Additionally, we want to continue to outline and define what tiered instruction means in our school district. Some people are using the term RTI, some are using MTSS, MTSSB, and all of those three different structures and approaches have different implications. So we have to really kind of tighten that up. And I will say that the special educators in our district have been really helpful and informative. They're working with us to make sure that they are able to provide the same grade level content and reinforcement of content to their students. And then additionally, they're kind of helping to be some of our experts supporting the classroom teachers and also the administrators in best approaches for Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention. So speaking of intervention, we are continuing to provide Wilson Level 1 training to our teachers all the way from pre-K to the high school level, and this has a lot of people really excited. We have students who are not proficient readers yet, but through interventions like Wilson Level 1 training, we can get them there. Research tells us that 95% of all students, English language learners, students who are identified, can achieve reading proficiency with the right interventions. One of the things I just wanted to highlight really quickly is the use of ESSER funds to provide Acceleration Academy opportunities to our students, and these opportunities have been so wonderful and so authentic, especially for our students who might struggle during their daily classroom activities. Acceleration Academy excuse me, provides innovative research-based ways to be able to engage students and then help them to develop critical skills. So we've been offering an abundance of professional development for the last couple of years, and we're going to continue to do that. We're going to stick with our same PD providers. We're really excited to work with the author of Building Thinking Classrooms to continue to build deep conceptual understanding in math. We're also going to continue working with Math Empowered and the founder, Carolyn Worcester, and her team. They've been doing a really great job modeling lessons at each elementary school in our district, and we've been recording those lessons and then we've been having online debriefs of the lessons so that we can make sure that everybody who wants to participate can do that. And then, of course, we have our coaching cycles with our math coaches. And then additionally, just really quickly, we're going to continue working with TLA. We're going to continue providing more support with the use of decodable readers. And again, I talked a little bit about the schools that have been implementing the 6 principles from the Writing Revolution and so on. I just wanted to, again, take a minute to highlight all of the amazing work that our instructional coaches do every single day. The positive impact that these people have had on our district cannot be overstated. Just going back here really quickly, I also just want to say that we're going to continue to highlight trauma-informed practices. We have wonderful partners such as Jessica Minahan, Dr. Allison Roy, Ross Green, and local celebrity Hillary LeCaire. We want to continue to provide professional development for our unified arts teachers, and our UA lead teachers have been really, really integral in making sure that we provide wonderful opportunities for all of the UAs across the district. And now the secondary portion.
Just jumping in to pick up where Dr. Safdie left off. Over the course of the year, I've had the opportunity to start developing relationships and identifying the needs, working with all the secondary administrators. Over the course of this process, I think it's allowed us to increase our consistency, because one of the messages we've heard coming in is we don't want to work in silos anymore. We want to be, as Dr. Andre had stated when he came on board, we want to be one Nashua. We want to promote that message. So we tried to streamline the process for curriculum requests, thanks to the help of the principals, to, with our ultimate goal of making sure the needs of our students and staff are being met on a regular basis. So having their involvement, boots on the ground on a regular basis, and having all these conversations have allowed us to, I think, really streamline the process and become more aware of what's going on, not only in our own buildings, but across the buildings across the district. With that being said, the next slide talks a little bit about some of the work that we are doing at the secondary level. In the bottom right-hand corner, you see the New Hampshire Learning Initiative, and I put that slide up there to kind of promote the work of Portrait of a Learner that's going on across the district, K to 12. We had a presentation early in the year about that. We'll be coming back later in the year to celebrate and to share the work that's gone on and where that fits in so well here with our curriculum work. A quick anecdote: we had a meeting with we've expanded the team to include not only high school representatives, but we have middle school representatives, elementary representatives, community representatives. At one of our meetings, we had an elementary teacher, and you could see that there was some bewilderment about why they were here for this work. And about an hour and a half into the workshop, they had kind of one of those light dawns on Marblehead opportunities, and understood that this does impact all of us K to 12. And she understood their role there in the elementary as we develop our vision of our learner and what their roles are. So there's doing some exciting work, and just expanding the scope of that has been so great. We've had some presentation a couple weeks ago from our CTE department. You're going to hear from our CTE department. Dr. Safdie used the word pathways a little earlier. The career pathways that are offered in the CTE program are so valuable and provide so many opportunities for our resources, and being able to expand that this year by adding our cybersecurity connection with Paradigm is exciting. Dr. Safdie mentioned previously about some of the PD connections that we've made with some of our providers, and being able to have these providers work not only with the elementary schools, but to expand it also promotes that consistency. One of those expansions is in TLA. It started out at the elementary level. It is embedded in the middle school. We're hoping to have some meetings coming up where we can expand to the high school, so we can see that expansion K to 12. We're also doing, we have Eureka, K to 8. We have Amplify K to 8, so there's some consistency there. We've been able to create a partnership with the Nashua Police Department, who've created a cadet academy for some of our students. We're excited about the work of the Middle School Steering Committee to provide some recommendations going forward, so we can implement those. Hopefully you'll have that presentation at the end of the year. Dr. Safdie talked about Math Empowered at the elementary level. Because of the work there and how it was well received, we're looking to expand that into the middle school next year. Much like you heard Dr. Safdie talk about the K to 5 Institute at the secondary level. Mr. Burns and Mr. Richard wanted to bring back the Summer Institute, and because of their work and their ideas, we're going to expand that. Not only going to have that Summer Institute 6 to 12, so we're in the process of planning that. We have a one-to-one rollout coming up where we're not only talking just about, putting devices in the hands of our students, but also the PD that's necessary to make sure we're really maximizing the learning, not only for our students, but for our staff as we implement and utilize these devices on a more regular basis. We started working with our staff about summer curriculum and kind of streamline that process. Dr. Safdie and myself were able to start sending that information out about summer curriculum all the way back in January. We've had many staff already take us up on this offer, so we have a large large group of of staff who are already planning on doing some summer curriculum work right now. So really excited about breaking down this work and working with our staff on a regular basis, particularly at the secondary level.
So in addition to the curriculum, the curriculum line and the operating budget, we also have two other funding sources that I just wanted to highlight. One is Title II, and Title II is a grant that we are able to utilize for professional development. I want to highlight the fact that out of our total allocation of $799,000 and some change, $477,000 of those funds are reserved for salaries. Those salaries are for our coaches and also partial salaries for, I think, 2 right now, or maybe 3 of our assistant principals, 3 assistant principals in there. We also obviously have to reserve funds for our non-public school partners. I do want to say that we have some really wonderful relationships with St. Christopher Academy and also with Bishop Garten, because, you know, we realize that all of the students in Nashua are our students no matter where they go to school. So ultimately, from that almost $800,000 top line, what we're able to spend is $234,000 for the entire district. For Title IV funds, essentially, we can use them for well-rounded education, safe and healthy schools, and then also academic enrichment, but really through technology. The total allocation for 22-23 is $431,000. Again, as you can see, $236,000 is reserved for salaries, and then, I'm sorry, that must be a typo. I believe it's probably $40,038. Yeah, $38.18. I'd like to blame Sharon, but that was actually me. I'm so sorry. So that leaves us with $150,000 to spend. For much of the Title IV funds, we are using it again for safe and healthy schools, our partnerships with the YMCA, and then additionally for resources like Lexia. That's how we're able to fund Lexia. I'm so sorry. What am I hitting? There we go. Thank you so much. If you have any questions.
Before we go any further, I'd like to show that Ms. Darling joined the meeting at 6:18 this evening, so it's on the record. You're welcome. Any questions, any comments, any concerns? Nothing? Wow. Gave a great presentation. All questions were answered in it. Okay. Thank you very much. The next presentation on our agenda is the CTE program.
All right, thank you guys for having us here. Keith Richard, Principal at Nashua High School South.
I'm Nate Burns, Principal at Nashua High School North.
And joining us in the audience here, it wasn't an extra chair, we would have definitely had her up here, Yvette Hester, our program manager for the CT department. So we're just going to kind of go over how things are going this year and plans for next year. I'll just kick off with the leadership model. As you know, has been a little bit different coming into this school year. Myself and Mr. Burns have been kind of overseeing the department. We have had a great addition with Yvette joining us this year as the program manager, and we have 2 wonderful head teachers, and Kathy Tremblay and Chris Notek, Kathy at South and Chris at North, who do an amazing role, have a lot of institutional history, and certainly helped Mr. Burns and myself along as we work through this school year in our kind of new oversight roles this year.
All right, one of the exciting pieces that we have this year is we're adding a cybersecurity program to our course load. So 3 different sections. So there's going to be cybersecurity 1, 2, and then 3. Each of these courses is a semester long. This first year, we're just going to roll out with cybersecurity 1. And we're really excited, without much fanfare, we were able to pull in and have 42 requests at Nashua South and 35 requests at Nashua High School North for this class. So it looks like we're going to probably run 2 sections of each, one each semester next year. And then hopefully that trend will continue as we move forward, run a couple sections of Cyber 2 the following year, and then Cyber 1, and move from there. One of the things that we are looking to do is add a 0.5 position through Perkins funding. For the next 3 years, we're going to continue to kind of add that and grow it. Part of it is because Nashua South has a cyber networking teacher, but at Nashua North, this is a new program to us, so we're adding a position that way so that we have a teacher at each of the buildings for that.
Revitalize program. Very excited that advanced manufacturing is coming back. This is a program that, especially in the state of New Hampshire, there's a high demand for skilled manufacturing workers, and it's been a struggle for us, but coming in this year, for next year, that we already have 27 student requests, so it's almost 2 sections ready to go. We have some new machines down there, really modernizing the program, machines that can cut, if you think of like large CNC machines, cutting through metal, things like that. We have a water one and a plasma-based one. And working with our instructor, we have a lot of cross-curricular opportunities. Our art department's very excited to come down. We have jewelry making courses, and they're very excited how they see manufacturing working with them to help them with soldering, maybe manufacturing some pieces that they can put together. And also marketing, with manufacturing, they're able to make some very interesting designs with those new machines that maybe is something that they could work with our marketing kids to sell and have a little revenue in a student account for their program. So without even the program up and running, there's already ideas flying around the buildings about the opportunities that'll be there for next year.
All right, we have a lot of also exciting, additional exciting collaborations. So Keith already spoke to some of them with manufacturing. Our marketing program has created an online department over at Nashua South. We're going to partner also with athletics to sell Titan gear, Panther gear at each of the schools. Be selling some of the products that students are making in marketing classes. Our accounting. Our marketing kids, they're going to be exposing and using all their skills and basically a work-based learning experience. So at South, they're kind of combining and having a variety of those different courses as a pilot, kind of working together to determine how they can do different pieces. We've got a couple other things going on, and then hopefully it'll go well, then we can move that over to North. We got a point of sale for our school stores, so they're going to be able to use debit cards and things at this point, which is something that students have been asking for quite a long time, which is great. Our cosmetology program is opened up to the public and to staff, so some during the school day and after school, and it's been really popular. A lot of people have been coming in and utilizing that. We had a student actually come up from Elm Street that needed some help, and the students took great care of her, so it was awesome to see. And then we also had a big gingerbread gala hosted here in the winter. It was really well attended, and we're looking forward to seeing how that grows over the rest of the time. It was great. I brought my kids, and they had a blast.
Yes, Mr. Donovan and I don't frequent the cosmetology program too often. We're still waiting for them to figure out a solution to hair loss. But a couple of pictures here that I'd love to highlight is our manufacturing and our engineering program. They've worked with the National Police Department. On the right side here, that's a student inside of one of our police cars for good reasons. That is they're looking for a bracket to hold on to an item. So that's the bottom one. The students went in, they saw what they needed to create, and they were able to make it for the National Police Department. On the left side, you might recognize that building. That is the McCarthy Middle School. Students from our electrical program have joined an apprenticeship with Longchamps Electrical, so they've been going there and doing work, and I just think it's so cool that it's in-house and they're working at a future site here for middle school kids, so very cool. And a lot to celebrate.
Could I actually ask something real
Yeah.
quick? I hate to be the one to ask this, but with the cosmetology program open to the public, what safety measures do we have in place? Because I know at most of the schools to volunteer, you need to fill out the volunteer form, have the background check. Like, what are we doing about safety?
Yep, so our parents or, public members that are signing up, typically they're signing up for the after-school session. We have security after school. They're signing in through security, and then they're being escorted over to the salon and then escorted back after it's done. It's been working out really well so far. And there's really minimal students here after school, and during that time, most of them are adult ed students. But we do have our security staff keeping an eye on things.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Great, and just some celebrations here. It was the 50th anniversary of the Purple Panther Preschool this year. As a former member of the Purple Panther Preschool, very great to see it. Was not in the first class, but somewhere in the middle there. Here we had a couple of culinary arts students take home a gold and a silver in Skills USA. We are sending 39 DECA students between North and South to compete internationally over April break. They'll be heading down to Orlando. We had a Money Strong project. There's a picture of Business Honor Society kids. So just a lot of great things coming out of the CTE department, NTC department this school year.
Okay, any questions? Any comments? Sure, Ms. Lampier.
The CTE presentation was like 2 weeks ago. It was so impressive, and all the kids that got up and spoke, they were so excited about the things that they're doing. And it was just great to see, and I can see why you guys are so excited about this program. I love all the pictures of the celebrations. So, yeah, kudos.
I just want to say that I remember when we opened this building, and I remember when we were putting the programs in, and I was so excited that students who did not want to go right off to college had opportunities. I know both of my boys went through the automotive program. My daughter did hospitality and tourism with Miss Herney, and she was a great loss when she left the district. And I just think this is wonderful because it gives our students more opportunities to try their skills at other things, and if they just don't want to go off to college, they have a chance to work, get a skill, a career, and then if they decide to want more education later on. So I'm glad that we're growing this program, and I'm so excited about it. Thank you. Ms. Oden?
No, I want to thank you and for revitalizing, updating the courses, because from everything I've been reading, fewer students are applying to college and applying to programs that train them so they can make a decent wage when they go out into the world, and they are not saddled with tens of thousands of dollars of college debt. So I think you have kept us a step ahead and provided many of our students with an opportunity that they wouldn't get at every school. So thank you so much, and thank you.
Ms. Bishop?
I also just want to give kudos. It's nice to see, I know we're kind of doing budget a little bit differently this year, and I love seeing the accomplishments of how we're spending our money in the schools and how they're benefiting the students, and not just the black and white line items that, are important, but this is, the picture book version for us. But this is such a nice way of seeing how we're doing what we say we're doing, so I appreciate this. Thank you.
Any other comments? Ms. Raymond?
Thank you. I just wanted to mention how excited I am that we have 27 kids signed up for machining. I know we were really excited to bring that back, and then there was a little hiccups getting it started with COVID, and so yay, machining is an excellent career. But I also wanted to put in a request with both of you and also with Dr. Andrade. In the past, 5 or 6 years ago, there was a tour for the board of the CTE program. It's been a very long time since we've done that, and as I'm seeing all of our expanded offerings, that would be really cool if we could arrange that either towards the end of the year or the beginning of next year, just to kind of get an idea of what the students are doing. So it's been a long time since I saw underwater robotics or
Yeah, so we'll be
planetarium.
more than happy to coordinate that, just for a little PSA as well, and thanks to Yvette and Nate and Keith. We actually have members from the leadership cohort from the Chamber of Commerce. They're coming in next Wednesday. So again, we want to promote all the excellent work that's going in the NTC to the greater community. So they'll be spending half a day in the, I think they're having lunch with us. We'll be providing some lunch and then visiting programs and talking about the wonderful work. So we are looking to revitalize the program. We know that excellent work has been happening for years and years, but we have to get back into marketing our programs and growing them. So we'll be more than happy to, a day that we can tour that school, but I also know Ms. Johnson wants to tour many other schools too. So we'll have a couple of school bus trips.
Yeah, we get to go on that little yellow school bus again, right? Any other questions, comments? If not, thank you to both of you. Excellent presentation.
Thank you. And you bet.
Now we have ELL.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be presenting the ELL program budget tonight. Unfortunately, Mr. Chopra is ill and couldn't be here. And I know whatever I present wouldn't do justice onto his knowledge and skills. So I'm going to go quickly through some of the slides, but again, I think when we come down to more programmatic questions, unfortunately, our expert in the district isn't here this evening. So just a quick overview on the budget presentation. So why does Nashua have an ELL program? There was a case study back in a Supreme Court case back in 1974 mandating ELL services. And I think really the quote that Mr. Chopra picked says a lot about what is access and opportunity and equity, but there is no equity of treatment merely by providing students with the same facilities, textbooks, teachers, and curriculum. For students who don't understand English, are effectively foreclosed from any meaningful education. And I think that says a lot. Just giving a student access to a classroom or the same book as everybody else doesn't do justice into the science and art of teaching provided by our ELL teachers and our regular ed teachers. So really, just opening the door isn't enough. We have to do much more for our students. So just an overview. We currently have 1,649 students identified as Ls. 1,298 receive active services and 351 are monitored. Active students receive direct instruction from an L teacher, and monitor students are tracked. And again, there's about 44 teachers currently in the program. And these are just 4 bullet points of what our L teachers are responsible for, but we know with our excellent teachers, they do so much more than 4 bullet points. But just quickly, they identify and assess students during the registration process. They provide English language instruction, collaborate with mainstream teachers, focusing on effective strategies for our Ls, and case management. Like I said, if we had to put all their responsibilities on one slide, it would be tiny, tiny print. We have incredible, knowledgeable, dedicated L teachers going over and above on a daily basis for not only our L teachers, but for all of us teachers, students. I found this was really interesting too, on where we need to go. Out of the 1,649 students, we can see the growth over the last 20 years. I mean, it's small print, but you can just see the trajectory of where the number of students in the district. And so we have to make a conscious effort to make sure that we have a sustainable funding line for our teachers moving forward, and I'll address that in the next couple of slides. So we can see that trend, and we know by demographic data, this population is not going to get smaller. So we need to make a continued effort to support this program. So who are our L students? There are over 47 languages spoken in the program. 66% are Spanish speakers, 14% are Portuguese speakers. Students come from 57 different countries. 43% of the program students were born in the United States, 11% from the Dominican Republic, 11% from Brazil, and 8% from Puerto Rico. And as I said, we have 44 L teachers in the district. 35% are in the operating budget, 8 are on ESSA funds, and 1 through Title I funds. Other important positions, we can't say enough about our ELL Communications Coordinator and also our ELL Community Outreach Coordinator. They work hard every day to make sure that there's a seamless relationship between the schools and our families. Adriana, who works down the hall from us, the amount of phone calls she's making, the communication to families, is a yeoman's effort, and I can't thank her enough for all the communication and coordination that she's doing for all of our students. The budget priorities moving forward, as we mentioned a couple slides ago, we have 8 teachers in our ESSA funds, and how do we slide them over to operating budget? So while it seems a little revenue neutral, it's really about the future and the sustainability of our L program. We see the population going up, so even as Mr. Donovan presented last week in our 3.08 increase, that moving some of these 8 teachers over is not going to be, it's almost revenue neutral over the next couple of years. So that will be a higher kind of concentration on moving that transition over. And that's one that we can't not back off on. That will be a priority over everything else. We are looking at revamping our high school curriculum, and also moving our elevation funding, which is some of our curriculum and instruction and assessment programs, over from Title III funding to district. Again, really the priority in this section of the presentation is really more about sustainability, moving from grant funds into the operating budget. And again, Mr. Donovan has done a great job working with Mr. Chopra on making sure it's a reasonable request, and it is in that 3.08 portion of the budget, or planning to move forward seamlessly. And then the last parts of ELL programming is our summer school. It's voluntary for students. We have over 200 students participating at the elementary, 175 at the secondary. And again, it's really about avoiding learning loss and the loss of English proficiency. So I think every day should be fun and keeping students engaged, not just in the summer, but a lot of the program is really about the socialization. And this is where, breaking down the funding sources, where we see the Title III grant is larger than our operating budget. So how do we move in the next couple of years to increase our operating budget to support a growing population of our students? And that's what I have for ELL tonight.
Any questions? Any comments? Okay, Ms. Lampier?
Yeah, is there a plan for how much you want to add to the operating budget for ELL?
So this year, it's kind of revenue neutral. So there's not going to be a major addition, but as we move in the next couple of years, we'll be moving. As ESSA's going away, looking at if there's other reductions in the operating budget, as opposed to we're just going to increase by $300,000 to the bottom line.
Okay.
Really working close with Mr. Chopra and Mr. Donovan to make sure that we're not having major increases, that we're looking at what is the academic return on investments in other programs, so that our bottom line is not increasing as much. It's just a seamless moving of money, if that makes sense. So
It
it's
sounds
not-
like a good plan.
We're getting there. It's hard work, so.
The Title III grant, will that money stay the same probably for next year?
It's essentially around the same aspect of it, but what's hard sometimes is like if you have personnel in one of the grants and salaries are going up and benefits are going up and it comes out of a grant, that means that there might be less dedicated to professional development or other services that could be used for students or professional development. Yeah.
Ms. Raymond?
Thank you. So we've been working on adding ELL teachers slowly in fits and starts over the last, I don't know, 5 years, I would say. Have we gotten to a place where we don't need to keep adding, or how many new positions are you thinking of for next year?
So
Because
I don't think I think it's the current 44 teachers that are between the operating budget and the ESSA grant and the Title III grant. So we're not looking for more this upcoming year. That's already kind of incorporated. But we know in a year from now, we'll probably need another position or two. The hard part of it is finding available ELL teachers and who are certified. We are doing, again, I want to give kudos to Mr. Chopa, Dr. Safdie, Mr. Posca on addressing the DOJ report. So there's still, as we're working through the recommendations that came out of that finding, there will be some kind of transformation over the next year. So we are looking at, some more curriculum work and more professional development that might not just be solely out of the ELL budget, but because one of the recommendations is about our core instruction. So it might come from a Title II, a Title IV, or other funding sources not directly ELL related.
I have one more. We had talked, I don't remember if it was in the CTE presentation or a different night, regarding expanding CTE offerings for our ELL students, as well as some of those core academic classes at the secondary level. How is that process happening or moving along at this point?
Without getting into the specifics of the numbers, but one of my first, over the summer and into the fall, I went to a presentation and saying, this is our hope, and it was during summer school, on setting up opportunities of college visits, CTE visits. That has continued. There was 2 or 3 field trips already for ELL students to explore CTE and go to the Nashua Community College. So there has been more concerted effort to make sure that all our L students have access and opportunity to the CTE programs. So I can't give you the exact numbers, but I know there's high energy in making sure that's working.
Okay. It's so difficult, I think, to transition to a new environment where you don't speak the language, but then also to get high quality activities during the day so that you're learning while doing.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the educator at the high schools who's involved in the NTC Center, that's his passion about apprenticeship, internships, really for the ELL students and providing those opportunities. And his name's gonna come to me in about 20 minutes, but it's his dedication to make sure that, especially that transition for students coming to this country or that limited English ability, sees those pathways. So we need to have him here at another meeting, because the work that he's doing is over and above his daily responsibilities. It's purely incredible, and you just see his passion oozing out of him to make sure that the kids are well supported.
Any other questions, comments? Ms. Bishop?
I'm assuming we're not fully staffed for ELL, right? As everywhere else is. What kind of recruiting techniques are we using to, getting out of Nashua, maybe even getting out of the New England area to go and recruit people from kind of maybe a larger base of where English isn't the main, the most dominant language?
Yeah. So great question. So Ms. Duffy and Mr. Bouse from the HR department has been working with Mr. Chopra to identify real fears that people like bigger, like in the Boston area, the Worcester area, that we've been attending there, using social media on different kind of platforms to recruit teachers. So we are expanding our typical HR recruiting pathway specifically for ELL. That was a finding in the DOJ report to say, what are we specifically doing? So we have been working diligently to address that.
Just, you know me, big picture, probably doesn't even make any sense right now, but because we are looking for more diversity within Nashua, not just within the schools, but in all of the other nonprofits in the area, is maybe working with the chamber on sending representatives out to get people to come into town. But anyway, that is big picture. It has nothing to do with right now, but if I didn't say it, I'd forget it, and then I'd just never say it again, and you guys would never have heard that. So that was for me. Anyway, sorry.
Any other questions? Any other comments? If not, thank you very much for this presentation. Now we're going to go on to the athletics.
Hi again. I feel like we've been spending a lot of time together lately. So as Mrs. Bishop mentioned the other little bit ago, our direction with our budget presentations is a little bit different this year. So right on the opening slide, I just wanted to show you what athletics does for our student body. These are the student body, the north and south crowds from our volleyball Battle of the Bridge game. So our athletic programs not only service our student athletes, but they also service the students of our schools and our community at large. So education-based athletics, as I tell my coaches, as I tell the kids, and you've heard me say before, this is something I'm really passionate about, something I could talk about for hours, but I promise you I won't. That I feel very strongly that what we do in our athletic program connected to our schools is really important. It is truly an extension of what goes on in the classroom. It prepares students for college, career, and military. You know, being on the same night as CTE, our kids are learning skills in our athletic programs that they can transfer to jobs right away after high school. We talk a lot about social emotional learning. Athletics is a place for social, emotional, physical, and cognitive skill development that students are doing a lot. We hold our students, as I was here on Monday night, we hold our students to high academic and behavioral standards, that students have just as many restrictions on them about how they're behaving in their citizenship and their sportsmanship and all of those things in addition to academics. Our vision is to pursue excellence in academics, sportsmanship, and athletics, while building pride in our community. Again, the first slide showed those pictures of the kids. If you've ever been to one of our big Battle of the Bridge games, the place is packed. You can't even get in. This year we were snowed out on the big basketball game, and we were very unsure what a Sunday afternoon Battle of the Bridge game was gonna be like, and the gym was pretty packed. So it was really great to see. The other night when Dr. Andrade presented the budget overview, he talked about focusing on learning, collaboration, and continuous improvement. So I thought it was appropriate to put our repeat Division I soccer championships into this, where last year they were undefeated. This year they were not undefeated, but they continue to learn and to improve and to work together to reach that common goal. So again, just continuing on with why education-based athletics is so important to our school and community. As we talked about pep rallies, attending events, for several years we have been hosting middle school city championships. That was something that I brought in because I felt it was important for our high schools and our middle schools to collaborate and connect and have that sense of a 6-12 program. So for the first time this spring, I'm very excited for this, we are going to not only have our baseball and softball city championships and our track city championship, but we're doing it all at the same time. So on a Saturday morning, every one of our spring middle school student athletes will be competing in the same place at the same time, which is going to be really cool, and we're hoping it's going to be a great environment for our community. And then the core values that we talk about through athletic competition and teamwork are the focus of all the decisions that we make. So one thing we also do is we try to promote with our students leadership. Leadership is a great skill, whether you're a leader, a team member, or any of the above, a captain, a not a captain, a small role on a team or a big role on our team, is to develop within our students those leadership skills. So the two outer pictures here, our North Athletic Leadership Council went over to Broad Street. We picked that school because they can walk there. We don't have to get a bus. So they go over to the school, and these are only a couple of our student athletes actually reading to the elementary school children. So it was really cool. And then the middle picture is the student athletic leadership on a Saturday afternoon. They did a food drive for the Titan Pantry at North. Our participation, just a few numbers for you, who our kids are, who they are, what they're doing. So not to read through all of these for you, but just to kind of throw in a couple key points there at our high schools. This is all data from last school year. We competed in more than 1,200 athletic contests. That's between our freshman programs, JV programs, varsity programs, regular season, and playoff games. And that's a pretty tremendous number. We also had 82 NHIAA and HADA scholar athletes. On Monday, we will actually be bringing 60 student athletes up to the scholar athlete ceremony for the first time that it will be in person in 3 years. And then last year, we also had 35 12-season athletes. We're really only 11 seasons because spring of 2020, we know there wasn't a season, but we gave them credit. We gave them credit based on the rest of their history. And then you can see similar numbers for our middle school programs on the right. So this one I wanted to highlight just to throw in for you. We all know that graduates from the Nashua School District go off to some pretty phenomenal colleges. These are just 5 of the schools that some of our student athletes have signed NCAA Division I or Division II national letters of intent. So some of our students have received scholarships to continue their athletic careers at these locations. So a few challenges. As we know, everything in education comes with challenges. The top one is probably the most challenging. We have 169 paid coaches. You hear me talk about this all the time. And I feel sometimes that interviewing and hiring coaches is a full-time job. This year alone, I've hired 67 new coaches. So it's about a third turnover every year. So if you're out there and you want to coach, please call me. Another big struggle we are all facing with, and this isn't a Nashua issue, a New England issue, it is nationwide, and my involvement at the national level is the lack of officials. And if you've been to some athletic events in recent times, the treatment they get from fans is the #1 reason that they're leaving the profession of officiating or not coming into it to begin with. So that's a real challenge right now across the country. Transportation concerns in other districts. I do want to take this opportunity to thank former Director Dave Rossio of Transportation, as well as our bus company. We, knock on wood, have been very, very fortunate. I will tell you, not a week goes by that I'm not getting a call from another district. We have a 4 o'clock game, but the earliest bus I can get is 4:30. Or we can't come on that day because I don't have a bus. And as I said, knock on wood, our bus company and our drivers and our transportation department have been fantastic through all of this. So kudos to them. But the problems other districts are having definitely impact us. Participation levels, we are coming back. We're starting to rebound a little bit from the COVID times, but we are seeing that students that didn't come out during COVID times never came back. They found other things to do. You know, our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders never came back out once they got to the high school level. So we are kind of really putting a push in for participation levels. Specialization in non-school-based programs are also a struggle. There are some non-school-based programs that tell their kids they can't play sports for their high schools. And that's not what we're about. We're not saying they can't play for you, so why are you telling them they can't play for us? Let's work together and try to make it a better environment for everybody on both sides. And then the demands on our middle and high school students. We know some of our students are really struggling, families are struggling financially, that a lot of our students are having to work, or, you know, they're between split homes, so they're only in Nashua half the time and they're in another town the other half. So demands of middle and high school students right now, the modern family, as one of my colleagues refers to it, is much different as we continue to progress. You've heard me talk about this for a while now. Some programs for future consideration, boys volleyball. I do want to mention that through one of the grants, the Acceleration Academy in our middle schools, Fairgrounds Middle School just completed a very successful middle school boys volleyball program over there, and the interest and enthusiasm for that program is continuing to grow, and it's growing from our middle schools right now, so it really could, in the very near future, creep its way up to the high schools. At junior varsity ice hockey, that's another one we keep talking about. Our hockey numbers keep fluctuating. A couple of years ago, we did participate in a full JV ice hockey league, and then COVID hit and numbers went down, and it's kind of waning. So that's kind of one, once in a while we'll play in a few JV ice hockey games, but we don't have extra ice time. We don't have extra coaches. So there's a lot that both the varsity and those JV players are sort of missing out on. In the middle school level, 2 programs I would very much like to see us bring in FY25 for the next fiscal cycle. When we do our redistricting, we open McCarthy and redistribute students to Fairgrounds and Pennachuck, is to bring in a boys and girls lacrosse team, as well as absorb the boys and girls club middle school wrestling program into our athletic budget, into our programs, into our oversight. That year, once McCarthy is open, we will no longer have to be busing Elm Street track, baseball, and softball anywhere. So that will free up some buses in the afternoon for lacrosse, which is a spring sport. I envision, at least for the first few years, that those middle school lacrosse programs being modeled after what we do with field hockey, where it's one program for the 3 middle schools. We kind of violate some league rules, so they're not eligible for playoffs at the end of their season, but it's an opportunity for the kids to play for their school in that program. So I really want to look towards that 2 years from now with those. Unified basketball at our middle school. Dr. Cobbs over at Elm Street runs a fantastic program over there in between winter and spring, and that's something we've tried to kick off at the other 2 middle schools, and depending on the year, there's been interest in not. We have an unbelievable unified basketball program at both high schools, so to sort of have that groundswell again in our middle schools that feeds up to that high school program would be great. And then, of course, B teams. We talk about B teams all the time. Challenges there is staff and facilities, and obviously the funding. For those, there are, in the league we play in Tri-County, B teams are considered another division. So they are treated equal to the other A team, I guess, for lack of a better word, to the teams that we have now, whereas we could go that route and it would be a full-fledged team, they make it to playoffs, they have championships, the whole 9 yards. Or we could look at it on the other side and treat it sort of like a JV team at our high schools and possibly just compete against each other, the 3 schools within Nashua. So it would be a reduced season, maybe not a 5-day-a-week commitment, maybe only a 3 or 4-day-a-week commitment. So there's different ways we could do it. But again, the challenges are going to be the staffing, coaches, as well as facilities. Positions, again, everything I just talked about, they're going to need coaches. The other thing that we have talked about in recent years is paid assistant varsity coaches. We have so many volunteers that volunteer their time and are putting in just as many hours as our paid coaches. And with all of the safety and security, and it's so much more than the X's and O's, what I ask about these what I ask from our coaches is to be an education-based program. You are a teacher, you are a role model, you are developing character, you're developing leadership and all of these things, and it would be a weight off of the head varsity coaches to be able to implement some of those. The other position would be strength and conditioning coach at each high school. This is something that we are lacking in. Our coaches do the best that they can, but unfortunately, they're not experts in strength and conditioning of the sport that they're coaching. So being able to bring somebody on in a stipended position who would be dedicated to proper training and safety and could work very closely with our athletic trainers to make sure that our students are being trained safely. Sport program lines, getting into the little bit nitty-gritty about the budget. I won't read this all to you, but just keeping in mind that each sport has its program lines, but then there's also a big bulk of it that's not in the program line. It's more just in a general athletics line or not in the operating budget at all. And then just a reminder, there's 5 sports listed there, that it's a boys budget line, but we do have the girls program. We just budget them together. And then all 3 of the middle schools are in the 05 location. So these items are not in the operating budget at all. The only source of revenue for uniforms and budget for revenue comes from our admission at football and basketball games. So please come to our games. Our awards also come out of the special revenue, so the admissions money and donations and things like that also help pay for end of season awards. And then the trust has the large scale equipment purchases. So this is just, I think this might be the only page that has numbers on it. Might be 2. So this is just an overview. I'm a picture paints 1,000 words. Picture's worth 1,000 words, sorry about that. That you can see that the orange, the gray, and the yellow, the stipends, the transportation, and the officials for our games is more than 70% of our budget. That's what our budget is. Like most budgets, salaries take up the majority. So the most significant changes, the top one is probably the most notable, and I just want to mention that coaching stipends is something I have talked about for 9 of my 10 years with 5 different superintendents. And the struggles and what's been happening, our stipends, for everybody to know, have not changed in more than 30 years. So our coaches are making what coaches made in the 80s. There's not many jobs that can say that they're still doing that. Again, nobody coaches for the money. There's no amount of money I can pay them for the amount of time, effort, and responsibility they have. But we worked together, Mr. Donovan, Dr. Andrade, and myself, and Mr. Posca, on an appropriate implementation plan. So we have a 3-year implementation plan. I believe, do they have all those appendices I sent? Okay, so you have more information in your appendices about that plan and about how it's going to be rolled out. So that is the most significant increase for this year, and you will see that for the next 2 years. This increase is the biggest of the 3. So the first year of implementation, we are increasing all of our middle schools, coaching stipends, and then the lowest paid coaches. So they're getting the first dibs at the increase. Next one's officials. This is contractual, if you will. As a member school of the NHIAA, they tell us what we have to pay our officials. So they've told us it has to go up. Rentals have gone up a little bit, and then as we all know, everything around us is more expensive than it used to be, so equipment and repairs. And then just some information on user fees. So one source of revenue that offsets our operating budget is our athletic user fees. In the budget, we are expected to bring in about $160,000. So this just shows over the past several years what we've been bringing in. And then fees that are waived. So if you notice, we did a phenomenal job last year collecting our user fees, even though there was some still waived for financial hardships and free and reduced or 3-season athletes. The percentage of unpaid fees was very, very small, and many of those were collected this year. And that's that.
Any questions, any comments? Ms. Raymond?
Thank you. Going back to the stipend increases.
Yes.
Did we increase them for this year at all? No.
This current year, no.
No. All right.
So next
we'll
year.
only start next year.
Yes, so FY24 is the first year of the 3-year implementation.
Okay. I'm just really optimistic that taking it out of the teacher's contract and having some flexibility will be helpful.
Yes, and just to speak on that, one thing that we did is we've created a structure, so all of the new programs and new positions and things like that that I would like to see us bring in the future, the structure that's been developed, there's already a stipend established for them. It's not in the budget, but the number's already there. So, you know, if we bring in middle school lacrosse, there's already a number that fits in the structure with everything else. The other thing that I did when I presented that is The head varsity stipend is a percentage of bachelor step 0 in the teacher's contract. So anytime that number changes, so will the stipends. So no athletic director will be sitting here in 30 years telling you that they haven't changed in 30 years.
That would be a nice, refreshing change.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's good. Thank you very much. And I appreciate that you've done the homework kind of preemptively so that next year or the year after, when those middle school volleyball players matriculate up, you can come to us and say, and this is how much it will cost. So when those parents are asking, we know. Thanks.
Ms. Oden?
Oh, thank you. I just want to thank you. I've been over the past year and a half, couple of years, to a lot of athletic events, especially at the stadiums, the Stella Stadium, and it's amazing. You're everywhere, all through every game. Thank you. Thank you. And I also want to say, compared to probably 5 or 6 years ago, the behavior of our students is just amazing. I can remember years ago going to a North-South game, and just about every administrator was there walking around to make sure the students were in place. There was a lot of student pass-bys. I'm not seeing that anymore.
We've
Fewer.
worked really hard at that.
And you've been successful. Few administrators, the respect of the players and the students. I looked at the Battle of the Bridge. I went to the Battle of the Bridge basketball game this year. The sportsmanship, you have 2 outstanding coaches. You had very respectful teams that were well coached and they played well. No fighting, no words. And the audience, the students there and the parents were absolutely amazing. So I think that has a lot to do with what you've done to the program, Lisa, and our administrators and our teachers. And it's down to the students. The parents have been wonderful. So I just think Nashua has done a really good job with their athletic program. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Right.
If not, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
And the last thing on our agenda tonight is special ed.
Good evening. I'm not sure, you guys thought it was cold because it's kind of hot over here right now. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Dan Alexander. I'm the interim director of special ed. I took over when Marcia left in December. So I just wanted to share a couple of pictures of some of our students. The bottom left, you see a student using a magnifier on one of our for her work. I don't know the actual name of it. In the middle is one of our students who has been adopted as the manager of the Riviera girls soccer team. And she attends all games, workouts, and participates with them. And then the bottom right is some artwork from our Brentwood students. This is the New Hampshire disability categories, and next to that are the numbers of students that we have identified with a particular disability. And at the bottom, you see the total number of pre-K through 12th grade plus students, which is a total of 1,924 students in our district identified. Just a graphic representation. The special ed process. I'm not going to read each of those for you, but we'll note on the bottom that school vacations, worldwide health pandemics, as we learned, weather cancellations, et cetera, do not interrupt these timelines. So we do have to follow these timelines regardless, and they were not stopped during COVID. There are 3 requests we have this year. One would be looking for another full-time school psychologist, a full-time American Sign Language interpreter, and a full-time board-certified behavior analyst, or BCBA. The rationalization for the psychologist, you see statistically what the American school psychologist recommends, how many psychologists per students. Currently, we have 15 school psychologists and 1 chief school psychologist. If we were to look at the recommendation of what the National Association says, we should have 19.5. So that would bring us up to 16 full-time and 1 chief school psychologist next year. We were unable to hire interns during the 22-23 school year this year. We do have 3 positions of interns. Unfortunately, last year, there wasn't that many that applied, and those that applied did go other places. We're optimistic. We had multiple applications this year and have some folks that have said yes, but we don't know until kind of the end of the year for that. Our school psychologists have been providing a lot of services throughout both to our regular and special ed students during the year. Primarily, a lot of what they do is testing, and you see during 18-19, our last full in-person school year, we had 217 referrals, and this year in 21, or last year in 21-22, we had 487 referrals for testing, and so that's an increase substantially there. Other reasons is that we've added Franklin Street Preschool will be fully open to all of our 14 special education preschool classes next year. And then Brentwood continues to expand and grow with students, and all of those needs continue to fall on the current 15 psychologists that we have. For the American Sign Language interpreter, our Signs of Learning program continues to grow pre-K through 12 plus. I believe we added 2 out-of-district students this year, 1 in preschool and 1 in elementary school, because we do take multiple students from other districts. So we have 10 other, and I think we added 1 after this process. So due to the growth in number of students requiring the interpreting, the district needs to add in additional interpreters. And obviously, like everything else, it's very hard to find qualified people for that, so we continue to look. This position would be looking at through the Special Revenue Fund, which would be the area it comes out of, sorry. Our BCBA, currently we have 4 full-time BCBAs, 3 at the middle and high school level, and 1 at the preschool level. The current focus is our students on our intensive needs programs, which they support about 250 kids, K through 12. Each of our BCBAs that support K through 12 have a caseload of 40 to 50 students. About 120 students were referred for our intensive needs and project achievement placements this past fall. The need for the additional BCBAs would be to support classrooms that were not for intensive needs and just general support for our other special ed students and regular ed students within the classroom setting to help support the problematic behaviors that we continue to see. And I think that's it.
Ms. Raymond?
Thank you. Thank you for coming. It's exciting. On the ASL interpreter, is that part of the teacher's contract, or are they NASAS? Or?
Nope, they're non-affiliated.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any, Ms. Lampier?
Yeah, I didn't know that we had, I'd never heard of the Sign of Learning program before, and I was just curious about how does it work?
In what fashion does it work? So we have classrooms from our preschool, we have an elementary classroom, and then we have our middle and high school classroom. As the students get older, they are more integrated out into with their non-disabled peers. So obviously our preschool classroom is quite self-contained because you're teaching students a lot of different skills at that level because of their hearing impairments at different levels. Some have no hearing, some have significant loss, some have implants and they're learning to hear and speak. So there's a lot of teaching of sign language, sounds. It's very unique, and we've been blessed over the years for Carmen Casau, who's retiring this year, to be in that program and run that program for so many years and support the district. So I hope Carmen's watching because So, and then in the elementary level, it's the same thing. And the interpreters go out with the students to class. So they do support them in the classroom with signs of learning, but when they're out with the general education classroom, they're interpreting for the students when you see on TV and things of that nature. So.
Is there any interest from the other kids in the schools to learn ASL? Do they get that?
Yeah, there is, and I think the course teacher at North had reached out and is trying to work through to get someone that can help her teach some of the kids sign language to incorporate into a song and things. We actually have a student, some students that are going to be in the play, I think The Lion King at New Searles, so.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's a great program, and hopefully you guys can see some of that when you guys tour some of the schools and things, so.
Any other comments or questions?
I just want to give a quick shout out to all the teachers and the paras this year and all the hard work they've done, and the staff in special education, and some of the CT members who are here to, support me tonight on my first presentation to you guys. So.
Support. Mrs. Oden?
Thank you. Those students that we're taking from other districts, do they pay the standard, I don't know what it is now, $14,000 per student if you come into the district and you're not a district student? You don't live in the district?
Do you want to answer, or do you want me to answer?
Well, they pay that plus some service fees
Okay.
because there's more services provided.
Okay, thank you.
And that's the funds that we're going to use to fund the
Interpreter.
interpreter, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Lampier?
I was just looking at the BCBAs, and it says that each of them carries a caseload of 40 to 50 students. Like best practices, how big should their caseloads be?
Best practice is probably around 20 to 30.
Yeah.
So.
All right, thank you.
And those are again, that's just our intensive needs classrooms. So we really want to lower their caseloads, but also expand out to the other classrooms that kids are in, and support all of our kids that we can with behavioral supports.
Ms. Raymond?
Thank you. Sorry, one more. Are we working with Riviere at all on school psychologists? Because they have that PsyD program.
Yeah, so we did have an intern this year from Riviere. I think he was our only intern. So we do put that out there. Ann Price, who's our chief school psychologist, reaches out, as well as all of our psychologists that come from various schools. I believe that we had at least 2, if not 3, of our psychologists that were on staff this year were former interns from the previous year. So it is a great way for us to get some great psychologists over the years. And once they have a successful internship, they kind of pass along to their lower classmen. So.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on special ed? Go ahead.
We were told that one of the kids in the intensive needs program had passed away recently, and I just wanted to offer my condolences to his family and to the special ed program. I know you must all be very sad and missing him a lot. So,
thank you. I'll pass that along to
I
everyone.
think it comes from the full board. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think it would come from the full board.
Great. I will make sure the teachers and the family know that as well.
Yes, please do. Please do. Anything else? Thank you very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate the presentation. I just want to say that this was really good, streamlined, and gave us a lot of the information that we needed tonight. Does anybody else have anything? Mr. Donovan?
Yes, so now that the presentations are complete, this Friday, you'll be getting either electronically or for a package, the sort of labor detail and some summary on the labor as far as how many people, how many teachers, paras, et cetera. There's some information in there. So that will be completed, hopefully tomorrow, be available on Friday. And then next week, it's back to you. We have a 3.01% budget at this point in time. you can decide, if you want more information or if you have any questions. If you do, if you know in advance, it'd be great to let me know. And then I believe the week after that is the public hearing. So, yes, so that's just wanted to sort of summarize where we're going.
Do we know when we meet with the Board of Aldermen, or when that's going to be planned?
That date has not been defined yet.
That hasn't been defined, because I know they're just starting their budget too now with all the departments.
Yeah, they have not even asked us for our budget information yet. So typically, we'll send that, and they'll sort of build their budget book. They haven't even asked for that yet.
Election year. Ms. Raymond?
My brain was going same place as yours, Ms. Johnson, about where the aldermen are at, and if the mayor has, usually he crafts like his, idealized budget and, the numbers that he wants all of his departments to shoot for.
Well, yes, that has been sent out. That was 3% for all the, well, for public safety and the schools, and some of the others may be different. But, so he did put that memo out. I believe it's in the package we sent out. So that's been done, but as far as the next steps with the aldermen, after the budget's approved at this level, when it goes to the aldermen, we don't have any dates on that yet.
So 2 weeks for the public hearing, not this next Wednesday, the second Wednesday in April?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, because I'm just looking at it, the mayor said, budget with an increase of no more than 3%. I mean, how much more can he hit us? We got hit up last year pretty bad in November, between the increase, how much money he had to raise to pay everybody, plus our reassessments. And that was like really, yeah, a lot of us really choked on our tax bills last year. They were so expensive. Anything else tonight?
It's February 10th from Megan Karen, if you want to look at it. An email.
That's very long ago.
Folders. But I'm crazy. You all know that.
Any other questions? Any other comments? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, good. Second. Ms. Darling seconded. All those in favor say aye. 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 Motion carried. Any nays? I didn't think so. Have a good night, everyone.